Welcome back to the channel, coins buyers, enthusiasts and treasure hunters. If you've ever come across a 1981 United States 1-cent penny and thought it was just another ordinary coin in your pocket change, you might want to think again. In today's video, we're diving deep into the fascinating story of how a single 1981 1-cent penny, originally worth just a fraction of a dollar, could be valued at a staggering $95,000. Yes, you heard that right, $95,000 for one penny. The question is, how can a coin with such a humble face value end up being worth tens of thousands of dollars? Well, the answer lies in the rare and intriguing world of minting errors, misstrikes, transitional varieties, planchet anomalies, and mint mark misplacements that make this coin an extraordinary find among collectors. Let's start by talking about the context of the 1981 penny. This was a transitional year, with the US Mint preparing for a shift in the metal composition of the cent. Up until 1982, pennies were primarily made from 95% copper and 5% zinc, which gave them a solid, heavy feel and a distinct tone. But in 1982, the Mint transitioned to a predominantly zinc-based planchet with only a thin copper coating, primarily to reduce costs. This transition period, which began in the early 1980s, was full of experimental coinage processes, adjustments in minting machines, and sometimes, mistakes that became golden opportunities for collectors. Some 1981 cents were mistakenly struck on planchets that didn't belong to them, like foreign planchets or transitional experimental blanks intended for 1982 production. Such errors are incredibly rare and valuable. One of the reasons the 1981 penny can be worth so much is the existence of what collectors call off-metal errors. These are coins that were struck on planchets intended for other coins, either foreign coins or other US denominations. Imagine a 1981 penny struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank, resulting in a coin that is the wrong size, thickness, or weight. These oddities are often spotted by skilled numismatists who weigh their coins carefully or notice strange colors and diameters. Some of these error coins are so rare that only a few examples have ever been authenticated, making them worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars at auction. Another reason the 1981 penny might be worth a small fortune is due to double die errors. A double die error occurs during the coin's production process when the coin die itself has been improperly manufactured. Instead of a single, clean impression on the die, multiple impressions are made at slightly different angles or positions, which leads to a coin that appears to have overlapping or shadowed images, especially in areas like the date, lettering, or Lincoln's profile. The 1981 Lincoln cent has a few known examples of these errors, and when they're strong enough to be easily visible without magnification, they become highly sought after by collectors. These coins are often listed in major error coin catalogs and price guides, with some examples selling for tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the visibility of the doubling and the overall condition of the coin. Let's not forget the extremely significant issue of mint mark anomalies. In 1981, pennies were produced at 3 different facilities: the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, D, and the San Francisco Mint, S. However, errors related to mint marks were more common than many people realize. A mint mark might be punched in the wrong location, be missing entirely, or appear as a repunched mint mark, RPM, where the mint mark appears twice due to a secondary strike. There are even known cases where a coin has an S mint mark but was produced at a different facility entirely, which can occur due to the reuse or misallocation of coin dies. These kinds of errors are particularly exciting to seasoned collectors who understand their rarity and historical significance. Furthermore, there are strike-through errors to consider, where a piece of debris, grease, or a foreign object interferes with the die striking process, leaving a mysterious void or impression on the coin. Strike-through errors can dramatically alter the appearance of a penny and render it a one-of-a-kind collectible. In the case of the 1981 penny, a strike-through error could result in missing design elements, distorted portraits, or illegible legends, all of which are seen as valuable anomalies by collectors who specialize in error coins. Then, there's the fascinating phenomenon of die clashes and die cracks. A die clash occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, resulting in parts of the reverse design appearing on the obverse and vice versa. These errors can create ghost-like images on the coin that appear eerie and visually captivating. Die cracks, on the other hand, occur when the die begins to fail and small cracks appear on the coin's surface as raised lines. Depending on the severity and location of these cracks, such errors can make a coin much more desirable. Collectors are especially interested when the cracks look like they're forming patterns, like lightning bolts, spider webs, or even creating illusions of letters or symbols not originally intended by the mint. You might be surprised to learn that condition also plays a huge role in determining the value of a 1981 penny. A coin with a high grade, say, MS67 or MS68, graded by a reputable grading company like PCGS or NGC, can already command a premium simply for its pristine condition. If such a coin also features one of the errors or anomalies we've discussed, its value can skyrocket to unbelievable levels. And that's exactly what happened with some rare 1981 Lincoln cents that sold for over $95,000 at auction due to a combination of ultra-high grade and significant minting errors. Even cents with minor doubling, especially those with strong, visible effects on the motto "In God We Trust" or the word "Liberty," have seen impressive results at coin shows and online auctions. What makes these errors even more intriguing is how they often go unnoticed by the general public. That's why coin roll hunters and hobbyists constantly check their change and search through rolls from banks, looking for overlooked gems. For every 10,000 coins a hunter examines, maybe one has a minor error, and perhaps only one in a million has the kind of error that can turn a penny into a $95,000 prize. It's also worth noting that some of the most valuable 1981 pennies have come from original bank-wrapped rolls or mint sets, where coins are better preserved and errors are more likely to be discovered in pristine condition. A few 1981 pennies have also turned heads due to anomalies in their composition. While most 1981 cents are copper-based, a very small number may have been struck using the wrong alloy, resulting in a lighter or heavier coin. Weight anomalies often require a precise digital scale to detect, and when found, they can lead to discoveries of off-metal errors, experimental planchets, or previously undocumented varieties. Professional grading services play a major role in identifying, authenticating, and certifying such coins, and once a unique variety or error is catalogued, its rarity and demand only increase. Another fascinating aspect is that even tiny details, such as a slightly misaligned die that causes part of the design to shift off-center, can elevate a coin's value dramatically. These are called off-center strikes, and depending on how much of the design is missing, collectors may pay huge premiums. A 5% off-center strike may be interesting, but a 50% off-center coin that still shows the date and mint mark can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Combine that with another error like doubling or a mint mark anomaly, and suddenly, you're looking at a penny that could fetch 5 figures. The market for error coins has been booming, with more collectors entering the hobby each year, and many are willing to pay top dollar for pieces that are not only rare but also tell a story about the history of US minting. The 1981 penny sits right at the crossroads of historical transition, technological shifts, and human error, all of which create the perfect storm for valuable collectibles. So, if you've got a jar of pennies lying around or some old change stashed in a drawer, take a closer look. That 1981 penny might not be as ordinary as you thought. And remember, even if it doesn't have a dramatic error, certain uncirculated or red designated coins from this year still hold solid value due to their limited numbers in top condition. As always, it's essential to have any potentially valuable coin professionally graded and authenticated before trying to sell it, as this will help you get the best possible price and ensure that collectors trust its legitimacy. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the 1981 1-cent penny, a tiny coin with the power to make a huge impact on your wallet. Stay tuned for more fascinating discoveries, and don't forget to check your change. You never know what hidden treasure you might find next. That your pocket change might hold a hidden fortune, then you're in for an exciting ride, because today we're diving deep into the story of a very special coin, an ordinary-looking United States 1994 D Lincoln 1-cent penny that, believe it or not, has sold for a whopping $44,000, all because of rare errors, intriguing mint mark anomalies, and unique circumstances that transformed this small copper-plated coin into a collector's dream. So sit back and let's uncover why this tiny piece of currency, which usually isn't worth more than its face value of a single cent, has gained legendary status in the world of numismatics and continues to amaze collectors and appraisers alike. First, let's understand the basic context. The 1994 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint, which produced hundreds of millions of these coins, making it seemingly common and of minimal interest to most people. But as is often the case in coin collecting, rarity isn't always just about the mintage number, it's about the peculiarities, the unexpected flaws, the missteps during production that result in a unique variation. This is where the 1994 D penny truly stands apart. Now, the most extraordinary examples of this coin exhibit rare errors that are incredibly hard to find in circulation, and these errors drastically increase the value for collectors who are constantly on the lookout for anomalies. Let's consider one of the most prominent error types, the double die. Double die errors happen when the die used to stamp the coin shifts slightly between strikes, resulting in a doubling effect on the text or images on the coin. On certain 1994 D pennies, this doubling can be seen clearly in areas like the motto "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date 1994. These doubling effects can vary in intensity and clarity, and collectors prize the more noticeable and dramatic ones. In addition to double die errors, there are examples of off-center strikes, where the coin was not correctly aligned in the press when struck, resulting in coins where part of the design is missing or off balance. A dramatically off-center strike can significantly raise the value of the coin, particularly when the date and mint mark are still visible. Furthermore, another reason why some 1994 D pennies have commanded such a high price is due to wrong planchette errors. This occurs when a penny is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination, such as a dime or even a foreign coin. In these cases, the size, weight, and color of the coin can differ from a standard penny, and the mistake is usually obvious to trained eyes. These types of planchette errors are extremely rare and make any coin instantly attractive to collectors. But there's more. The mint mark on the 1994 D penny has been the subject of intense scrutiny and interest. The D mint mark indicates the Denver Mint, but in some cases, the mint mark appears to be repunched or misaligned. A repunched mint mark, RPM, occurs when the mint mark is punched more than once in slightly different positions, and although this process was more common in earlier years, some examples have appeared on 1994 D pennies as well. These subtle yet detectable errors appeal strongly to variety hunters, those collectors who specialize in finding slight die variations that set one coin apart from the rest. Additionally, coins with die cracks, cuds, or die clashes are also of special interest. A die crack is when the die used to strike the coin begins to fracture, leaving raised lines or defects on the coin's surface. A cud is a blob-like area where part of the die has broken off, resulting in a raised, unstruck portion on the coin. Die clashes occur when the die strike each other without a planchette in place, imprinting part of one design onto the opposing die, which then transfers ghost-like images to the coin struck afterward. These errors are not just mistakes, they're visual stories of how the minting process can go off course, and they can dramatically raise the value of a coin, sometimes into the tens of thousands of dollars. But why, you may ask, would a single 1994 D penny be valued at over $44,000? It's the perfect storm of rarity, error type, condition, and collector demand. The specific penny in question likely featured a dramatic and clearly visible error, possibly a combination of several, like a double die, off-center strike, and a repunched mint mark, all preserved in a high grade with minimal wear, possibly graded MS67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. Coins in such pristine condition are rare enough, but when you add in a desirable error, the value skyrockets. It's also important to consider that collectors and auctions can sometimes drive prices up when there's strong interest in a particular error variety. In the case of the $44,000 penny, competitive bidding likely played a role, with collectors vying to own a rare and unusual specimen. Another interesting factor that makes some 1994 D pennies special is the copper content. Although by 1994 all standard pennies were struck using a zinc core with a thin copper plating, sometimes planchette errors or leftover blanks from previous years can result in coins with a higher copper content. A few collectors and researchers have tested suspiciously heavy 1994 D pennies, only to find that they may have been struck on older copper-based planchets, although such occurrences are extremely rare and not officially confirmed by the US Mint. Nonetheless, the mere possibility adds to the coin's mystique and desirability. So how can you tell if your 1994D penny is worth more than a cent? First, examine it closely under magnification. Look for any signs of doubling in the text or numbers. Check the mint mark for signs of repunching or misalignment. Observe whether the coin looks off-center or if any part of the design appears distorted, missing, or unusually raised. Weighing the coin can also provide clues if it deviates significantly from the standard 2.5 grams for zinc pennies that might suggest a planchet error. You should also look at the color, feel, and sound of the coin, as odd metallic characteristics may be signs of a minting mistake. If you believe you've found something unusual, don't clean the coin or try to alter it in any way. Instead, take it to a professional coin dealer or submit it to a reputable grading service. Getting your coin authenticated and graded is a crucial step if you hope to sell it for a significant amount. Most valuable 1994D era pennies that have sold for thousands have been graded and encapsulated, which assures potential buyers of their authenticity. Collectors value transparency and verified information, and having a coin in a certified holder can make all the difference in price. Now, let's explore the role of demand in setting these sky-high prices. In recent years, the coin collecting community has seen renewed interest in era coins, especially as more collectors use social media and YouTube to share their discoveries. Videos of rare pennies turning up in everyday change have gone viral, and news stories about valuable coins found in drawers or piggy banks have fueled a new generation of treasure hunters. This has significantly increased demand for even minor era coins, let alone dramatic ones like the rare 1994D penny we're discussing. When you combine a unique era, pristine condition, and an enthusiastic market, it creates the perfect environment for a coin to reach a sale price of $44,000. Auction houses and private collectors alike are always on the hunt for the next big discovery, and coins like this represent not just monetary value but also a piece of minting history, evidence that even in a highly mechanized, precise environment like the US Mint, human error or mechanical wear can create something unexpectedly valuable. So the next time you come across a 1994D penny in your change, don't toss it aside, take a closer look. It might not seem like much at first glance, but with a little patience and knowledge, that tiny copper coin could turn into an extraordinary find. Whether it's a double die, off-center strike, wrong planchet, repunched mint mark, die crack, or some other unusual feature, these little errors add up to big value. The mystery and excitement of not knowing what you might find is part of what makes coin collecting such a fascinating hobby. Every coin has a story, and some, like the legendary $44,000 1994D penny, have stories worth telling, sharing, and cherishing. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story as incredible as we did, stay tuned for more amazing coin discoveries that could be hiding right in your pocket. If you've ever looked at your pocket change and wondered whether a seemingly ordinary coin could be worth thousands of dollars, then you're in the right place. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of a very specific and intriguing United States penny, the 2002 1-cent coin. Now, at first glance, it might look like just another common Lincoln cent, one of billions minted and circulated every year. But what if I told you that certain rare varieties of this coin have sold for staggering amounts of money, with one era coin reaching an astonishing value of $54,000 at auction? That's over 5 million times its original face value, and it's not just hype, it's a reality for collectors who know exactly what to look for. So grab your coin jars, because this video could change the way you view those little copper-colored discs forever. Let's start with some context. The 2002 1-cent penny was produced by both the Philadelphia and Denver mints and features the familiar design we all recognize, with Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a motif that had been in use since 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. In 2002, over 3.2 billion pennies were minted, which naturally makes the coin seem extremely common and of little interest. However, in the world of numismatics, especially among era coin collectors, rarity doesn't necessarily come from how many were minted, but rather from how few have the unique mistakes, flaws, and anomalies that slip past quality control and into circulation. And that's precisely what makes certain 2002 pennies stand out. In rare instances, coins from this year have been discovered with dramatic minting errors such as off-center strikes, double dies, die clashes, broad strikes, and even incorrect planchette compositions, and one specific 2002 penny became legendary due to a rare mint mark error combined with a die flaw that created a completely unique specimen. This particular coin was authenticated by a top-tier grading company and classified as an extremely rare mint error due to a combination of a double die obverse and a misplaced mint mark, which together produced an appearance never intended by the US Mint. Imagine a coin where Lincoln's image appears slightly doubled, that "In God We Trust" motto shows signs of strong doubling, and the mint mark, a small but crucial identifying detail, is either in the wrong location or exhibits signs of hand punching gone wrong, something that was phased out decades before but occasionally still causes anomalies in coin design. These kinds of errors captivate collectors because they reflect a rare convergence of human error and mechanical mishap, two things that, when combined, result in something truly scarce. Even more fascinating is that some of these coins may have also been struck on transitional planchets, those intended for coins of different denominations or years, which results in discrepancies in weight, color, and composition. For example, while pennies post-1982 were meant to be struck on zinc planchets coated in copper, occasionally a leftover copper planchette from earlier minting years gets mixed in, resulting in a 2002 penny that weighs more than it should. These weight anomalies often trigger closer inspection and, when confirmed, significantly boost the coin's value. In the case of the $54000 penny, it was a perfect storm, a copper planchette instead of zinc, a double die error, and a rare misplacement of the mint mark. Furthermore, its exceptional state of preservation, graded as mint state with no signs of wear, only amplified its desirability. Collectors know that condition is king, and when rarity and condition come together, auction prices can skyrocket. But how do you identify a potentially valuable 2002 penny? First, check for signs of doubling on the obverse, especially around the words Liberty and In God We Trust. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweller's loupe for a closer look. If you see shadow-like impressions or thickened letters, you may have a double die variety. Next, examine the mint mark under magnification. If it appears oddly shaped, placed too high or low, or seems to have been punched at an angle, that could be your clue to a mint mark error. Don't forget to weigh your penny as well. Standard 2002 zinc pennies should weigh about 2.5 grams. If yours weighs closer to 3.1 grams, it could have been struck on a leftover copper planchette from pre-year 1982, which is exceedingly rare and highly valuable. Die cracks, cuds, and die clashes are also worth noting, as these types of errors, although more common, still add value when significant and well preserved. Another layer of intrigue lies in the coin's potential provenance. Coins that come directly from mint sets or have been preserved in pristine condition without circulation are far more likely to earn high grades from coin grading services like PCGS or NGC, which in turn dramatically boosts their value in the marketplace. Add to that the appeal of first discovery status, where the first known example of a new era variety gets added recognition and historical value, and suddenly the humble penny becomes a gateway into numismatic history. One important takeaway for collectors and viewers alike is that these errors are often subtle and require patience and attention to detail to detect. But the rewards, as we've seen, can be extraordinary. That 2002 penny that sold for $54000 was likely once sitting unnoticed in someone's change jar, and it was only through careful inspection that its true value was revealed. It's stories like this that remind us how coins are more than just currency. They are tiny metal time capsules full of history, mistakes, and sometimes, incredible fortune. The world of error coins is vast, and the 2002 penny is just one example of how an everyday object can defy expectations. Whether you're new to collecting or a seasoned expert, it's worth remembering that not all treasure is buried, sometimes it's jingling right in your pocket. So the next time you're handed change at the store or cash in a jar of coins at the bank, take a second to look a little closer. Your next great discovery could be right there, waiting to be found. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more incredible coin stories just like this one. We're diving into the fascinating world of a small but mighty coin, the 2004 United States 1-cent penny, a coin that's been making waves in the numismatic community for its surprising and extraordinary value, with certain specimens fetching as much as $36000 at auction due to a combination of rare minting errors, die mistakes, and mint mark anomalies that make it radically different from your everyday penny. So stick with us as we explore the hidden details, the mistakes that turned this humble coin into a collector's dream, and how you might just be carrying one of these gems without even knowing it, because what seems like a regular 2004 penny with Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse could actually be a hidden jackpot. And if you're wondering how a coin with a face value of just 1 cent could end up being worth thousands of dollars, the answer lies in a fascinating intersection of US minting history, production quirks, and the relentless curiosity of coin collectors, who examine every detail with a magnifying lens to discover errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, missing elements, and more. And the 2004 penny is no exception. In fact, it's become a standout example of how small deviations from the standard minting process can result in a coin that is both historically significant and financially valuable. And it all starts with the US Mint's operations in 2004, a year that didn't seem particularly remarkable in terms of coin production volume, with billions of pennies rolling out from the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Yet among these billions were a few outliers, coins that, due to worn dies, incorrect alignments, or even unintentional omissions during production, ended up being drastically different from their intended design. And this is where mint mark errors come into play, as coins from Denver should bear the D mint mark, while those from Philadelphia either carry no mint mark or occasionally show anomalies due to die wear or repunching. And collectors have reported finding 2004 pennies with distorted or doubled mint marks, or in rare cases, coins that bear both a faint and a bold mint mark on the same side, possibly the result of overpunched dies or die clashes. And while these kinds of errors are rare, they're not unheard of, and they're precisely the kind of details that increase a coin's desirability and ultimately its market value, especially in a collector's environment where rarity, condition, and uniqueness drive price. And speaking of condition, many of the most valuable 2004 pennies have been found in near-perfect mint state conditions, graded MS67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. And when such pristine examples also include visible minting errors like double dies on the date, Liberty inscription, or Lincoln's profile, or even more dramatic misstrikes like off-center stamping or die cracks that extend across the surface, the value can skyrocket. And one particularly famous example of a 2004 penny that sold for over $36000 exhibited a rare combination of features. It was struck on a zinc planchet intended for a foreign coin, meaning it had a slightly off coloration and weight, combined with a dramatic die clash that left ghost images on both obverse and reverse, a misplaced mint mark, and doubling on the lettering, making it a once-in-a-lifetime find that stirred interest across collector circles and even made headlines in numismatic publications. And what's truly fascinating about these valuable 2004 pennies is that they're not all locked away in private collections or museum vaults. Some are still in circulation or tucked away in jars, drawers, and boxes across the country, forgotten or overlooked because most people wouldn't think twice about a penny minted in the early 2000s, especially since the design hasn't changed dramatically, still featuring the familiar Lincoln profile and the Lincoln Memorial reverse. Yet that assumption is exactly what keeps these coins hidden in plain sight. And if you're wondering what kinds of errors to look for specifically on the 2004 penny, there's quite a range, from the subtle to the dramatic, including die breaks that resemble extra limbs or spikes extending from Lincoln's head or body, nicknamed extra ears or extra columns by collectors, planchet errors that result in clipped edges, laminations, or even coins that were struck on defective metal stock causing bubbling or discoloration. And then there are the double die obverse, DDO, errors, which can show clear doubling on the date, the word Liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," and these features can be identified even with a standard magnifying glass or macro lens on your phone, making it more accessible than ever to examine your change for rare varieties. And if that weren't enough, there are also off-center strikes where the design is not fully centered on the coin, exposing blank areas or partial images that weren't properly aligned during the minting process. And while minor off-center errors are relatively common and may only be worth a few dollars, those with 50% or more of the design missing, especially if the date is still visible, can command serious premiums. and these types of errors are especially appealing to collectors because they represent tangible mistakes, visual proof of how human and mechanical imperfections intersect in the minting process, making each error coin a unique artifact. And let's not forget transitional errors. Although less commonly reported for 2004, there's always the possibility that a coin was struck using a leftover planchette from a previous year or composition type, and while the US had already completed the transition from copper to zinc-plated planchettes by the mid-1980s, isolated cases of wrong planchette strikes have appeared on newer coins. And the possibility of such an error existing on a 2004 penny remains an enticing theory for treasure hunters and collectors alike. And the thing about coins like these is that they tap into our natural curiosity and the thrill of the hunt. It's not just about the metal or the design, it's about the story each coin tells, how it escaped the watchful eyes of mint inspectors, how it made its way into circulation, and how it eventually got discovered, and that story adds layers of meaning and value far beyond the penny's nominal 1 cent worth. And if you're now motivated to check your own change jar or coin roll collection, here's what you should know. The odds may be slim, but they are real, and people have found incredibly valuable coins in circulation or in bulk coin rolls from banks. And while most 2004 pennies won't be worth more than face value, those rare error specimens can transform an ordinary day into an extraordinary one, especially if you happen upon a coin that exhibits multiple error types simultaneously, a kind of jackpot scenario that exponentially increases value because it means the coin slipped through multiple layers of quality control, and it's that rarity that drives auction prices sky high, especially in certified and authenticated examples that come with grading documentation from professional services, which not only verify the coin's error but also provide assurance to buyers and collectors that they're getting a legitimate piece of US minting history. And this brings us to the broader point about coin collecting as both a hobby and an investment opportunity, because coins like the 2004 penny with rare errors represent more than just a curiosity. They are tangible assets that appreciate over time, especially as collector interest grows and the supply of surviving error coins remains limited. And it's not just seasoned collectors who can get in on the action, anyone can, regardless of background or budget, because all it takes is curiosity, attention to detail, and maybe a magnifying glass to start discovering potential treasures right in your pocket. And there's something uniquely satisfying about the idea that a single penny, something most people overlook, discard, or ignore, could actually be worth thousands of dollars simply because of a quirk in the minting process. And that's what makes this story so compelling. It's not just about metal and machinery, it's about the intersection of chance, history, and human oversight that makes each rare coin a silent witness to the fascinating complexity of our currency system. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of the 2004 1-cent penny and its surprising value due to mint errors, die anomalies, and rare variations, remember that treasure can truly be found in the most unexpected places, even in the palm of your hand.